breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer for the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson. Now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by Tanner Kern, who does such great work over at DraftKins. He's also one half of the Ride the Line podcast. Find that wherever you get good podcasts. We're going to chat with him about what we've all been seeing with these struggling American League teams. He's a fan of the Red Sox. He's out there in Massachusetts, so we'll talk about them, what they need to be able to get back online. Is there a hope for them to still make the postseason? We'll look at these games that we've got for Tuesday as well, and then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all. If you've got a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, boy, did we have a fun and overwhelming day of baseball Monday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find the trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
It took 12 innings, but the New York Mets get the job done. They win in 12 innings by a count of 16-7. You don't find that very often. For the Metropolitans, Christian Scott was not long for this game, gives up 3 runs over the course of 4 innings. And then Austin Warren, 2 shutout innings from there. Brooks Raley goes off the Rayleys, gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Tobias Myers gives up a run in 1 1/3 innings. Then Luke Weaver, a scoreless inning. Oscar Brisbane, he gives up an unearned run over the course of his 2 innings. Craig Kimbrell gives up a run in the 12th. And for the Nationals, they just ran out of gas with their bullpen. Jake Irvin, he gives up 3 runs, 1 of which was earned in 4 innings, as there were a nice hearty 4 errors out there by the Washington Nationals on this day, as he was taken deep by Brett Beatty, 3rd home run of the campaign, and Bo Bichette, he gets a third of the campaign. That comes off of Mitchell Parker, gives up a sole run in 3 innings of work. Not bad there. PJ Poulin gives up an unearned run in his inning work, and then Orlando Revolta, a shutout inning. Gus Farland gives up an unearned run as he pitched 2 innings, and then in the 12th inning, Paxton Schultz gives up 7 runs, 6 of which were earned. He got 1 out of the bullpen, and it got to the point in the 12th inning where they had to throw the backup third baseman, Jobert Vivas, and he gave up 3 runs over the course of 2/3 of an inning. So just some despicable stuff there. As for the Washington Nationals, they stranded 18 men on base, and the Mets, they went 10 of 21 in this game with men in scoring position. And there was another team that scored 16 runs, the Tampa Bay Rays, 16-6. They mollywopped the Baltimore Orioles. The disastrous season for Trevor Rogers continues. 8 runs, 7 of which were earned, give it up in 3 2/3 innings. From there, you had 4 runs, give it up in an inning by Diedrich Enns. Cameron Foster, 4 outs of the bullpen, he gave up 4 runs. It got to the point where Weston Wilson, position player, had to give you a shutout inning. Andrew Kittredge, scoreless inning out of him as well. And Shane McClanahan, not his best start, but he didn't need it. 5 innings pitch, gives up 4 runs, all of which were earned, and he was taken deep by Weston Wilson, who both had a shutout inning and a home run in this one. His first of the campaign. Ellie Rushman, a little bit later on, he would get his 7th home run of the campaign as Chase Sulsky, hopefully I got that name correct, in his first career appearance. He goes 3 innings, gives up 2 runs, both of which were earned. Hunter Biggie from there, a shutout inning, and the Rays now 31-15. They and the Yankees very much stand alone on top of the American League, and the Yankees, they got the job done against the Toronto Blue Jays. 7-6, the final for Patrick Corbin, gives up 3 runs over the course of 4 innings, and he was taken deep in this one as Paul Goldschmidt, 5th home run of the campaign, and then from there you had Uriel Rodriguez give up a pair of bombs. Jazz Chisholm, he gets jazzy for his 5th home run of the season. Cody Bellinger, his 6th. Braden Fisher had 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and it was a scoreless inning prior to that from Adam Mako. His MLB debut comes over from Slovenia, so congratulations to him. And then Rodriguez gets 1 out. He gives up 4 runs, all of which were in those 2 bombs. And then Jeff Hoffman from there has to clean up the mess for a scoreless inning. And you did have a pair of bombs for the Blue Jays as well. George Springer and Ernie Clement, their 3rd home run on the campaign as Ryan Weathers tried to weather the storm, but gives up 5 runs in 5 1/3 innings. But from there, Paul Blackburn walks the plank for 5 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Fernando Cruz, a shutout inning, and David Benar almost pooped the Benar in the 9th inning. He gives up a run in his inning of work, but manages to do just enough to be able to hold it down there. The Brewers continue to hold down the fort. How about a 9-3 win over the Chicago Cubs as Shota Imanaga destroyed in this start. 8 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. Christian Yelich, a Yelly bomb, his 3rd home run on the campaign, and Jake Bauers, his 7th of the season. From there, Evan Roberts, 5 outs on the bullpen. He gives up a run, and yes, this man is still pitching. Ty Block. We had a Ty Block sighting. 3 shutout innings out of him, and for Brandon Sproat, he piggybacked with Shane Drone. For Sproat, he gives up 3 runs over the course of 4 2/3 innings. It was taken deep by Dansby Swanson, 7th home run of the campaign, and then from Drone, he was able to go 4 1/3 innings shutout, so very nicely done there. And how about this? Very nicely done by the Philadelphia Phillies. They are back above 500, 5-4. They take down the Cincinnati Reds. Reds are dead last in the National League Central at 24-24, by the way, right now. Andrew Painter, he had a solid start, 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Now, Cosell Stewart does go deep out for Brad Keller, his 11th home run of the season. For Keller, gives up that solo run in his inning work. Jose Alvarado, run given up in 2/3 of an inning. Orion Kirkring out of the bullpen squirrels, and Yohan Duran was able to give you a shutout inning. From there, Nick Lodolo for the Reds. He gives up 3 runs in 5 2/3 innings. Early on was just giving out a lot of walks and was taken deep by Alec Boehm, 4th home run of the season. Bryson Stott, great Stott. He was able to get his 5th home run of the campaign. He goes deep off Graham Ashcraft, who has recently been a load of Ashcraft, giving up 2 runs in 1 2/3 innings. TJ Antone and Brock and Rolberg both give you an out of the bullpen squirrels, but the Phillies now 25-23, so they're working with their way up. Cleveland Guardians now 27-22. They take down the Detroit Tigers 8-2 the final. Framber Valdez saw what he was looking for here. 4 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Brian Herter, well, he got hurt in this game. 3 runs allowed in a third of an inning. Connor Siebold, 2 2/3 innings squirrels, and Emmanuel De Jesus. He gives up a home run in his inning of work to Jose Ramirez, 8th home run of the campaign. And Slade Sassoni, who has been brutal this year, 7 1/3 innings. He allows a pair of runs as Matt Vierling does take him deep, 4th home run of the campaign. But from there, Matt Festa had a fiesta for a pair of outs out the bullpen squirrels. Peyton 3000 Palante was able to give you a squirrel inning as well, so they find a way to be able to get the job done there. And hey, the Boston Red Sox do as well. We'll talk more about them with Tanner Kern on the flip side, but Sonny Gray made things very sunny for the Red Sox in this 3-1 win. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. From there, Justin Slayton, Garrett Woodlock, Aroldis Chapman, turned scoreless innings apiece, and Seth Lugo was fine. 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, taken deep by one Mr. Wilson Contreras, his 7th home run of the campaign. From there, Alex Lang, he gives up a run in an inning. John Schreiber, Steven Cruz, they both supply a scoreless inning, but absolutely nothing doing for the Rays offense in this one. A lot doing for the Miami Marlins, though. How about them just absolutely taking it to the Atlanta Braves? 12-0 the final. Regression was coming for J.R. Ritchie, and boy did it hit hard. He gives up 6 runs over the course of 4 innings, including the Marlins going 4 of 9 with men in scoring position in this game, and Aaron Bummer, boy was he a bummer. He gave out 5 walks, he gave up 6 runs, all of which were earned in 1 inning of work. From there, D.D.A. Fuentes, Tyler Kinley, and position player Oe Mateo all lend a scoreless inning. Max Meyer, he was great here for the Miami Marlins. 6 shutout innings. John King, Calvin Fauché, Lake Bakar, they're all able to give you a scoreless inning. Ronald Acuna Jr., by the way, activated off the injury list, so that's good news for the Atlanta Braves, but the bad news was a guy absolutely destroyed in this one. Pitchers that were not getting completely destroyed, they were out there and slammed Diego 1-0. The Padres get the job done here as Michael King was the king of giving you 7 shutout innings, punch out 9. Jason Adam, Mason Miller from there, scoreless 8th and 9th innings. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, the tough luck loser in this one, gives up a solo run to Miguel Andujar in the first inning. That's his 4th of the campaign. That's all he give up in 7 innings. Kyle Hurt, he came in for a shutout inning, but for the Dodgers, absolutely nothing doing on offense on this night. A lot doing for the Arizona Diamondbacks, so 12-2, they take down the San Francisco Giants. For Robbie Ray, who is more like Robbie Boo, 10 runs, 9 of which were earned, given up in 4 1/3 innings, gives up a pair of bombs. Nolan Arenado, his 7th home run season. Gabriel Moreno, his 2nd, and Zach Allen, he filled it up, giving up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings. Was taken deep by Willie Adames, 4th home run season. From there, Ryan Thompson, Brandon Garcia, Jonathan Loaiza, all in a scoreless inning, and then you had Ryan Barucki, 2 shutout innings for the Giants. JT Brubaker, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 1 2/3 innings. So Diamondbacks back to 500 at 23-23. Seattle Mariners back on the winning path, 6-1. They're able to take down the Chicago White Sox. No Schultz, 3 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings, taken deep by Julio Rodriguez, his 8th home run of the season, and then home run number 1 for the young gun Colt Emerson. He's the guy that they paid a lot of money to, and he's already given them their money's worth as he goes deep off of Trevor Richards, who gives up 3 runs in his inning of work. Jordan Nix, shutout inning. Brandon Iser, pair of outs out the bullpen squirrels, and then Brian Wu, he said woohoo to 6 shutout innings. Edward Bizardo from there does give up a home run. Tristan Peters, his 2nd home run of the campaign in 2/3 of an inning. Jose Ferrer, though, 4 outs out the bullpen squirrels. Andres Munoz, he's able to complete a squirreless inning as well. And JT Ginn had taken a no-hitter very very deep into this game, but he gets walked off in the ninth inning. The LA Angels, 2-1, they're able to get the job done. For JT Ginn, he gives up both hits, I believe, in the ninth inning. He gives up a walk-off homer to Zach Neto, his 8th of the campaign. That squanders what was a really nice effort as the A's left 11 men on base. Welbe Urena does not Urena over this game. 6 shutout innings out of him. Sam Bachman, 2 shutout innings out of him. Ryan Zephyrion does give up a run in a third of an inning in the ninth inning. Chase Silseth, he came in for a pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels, so the Angels now 17-31. It's been a rough season for them, but hey, got the job done in this one. So did the Colorado Rockies. 7-6, they're able to take down the Walker Texas Rangers as he had home run number 2 of the season for Justin Foscue to be able to get the Rangers back in this one. As for Mackenzie Gore, boy oh boy did he get gored. He gives up a pair of runs in an inning, lifted from this game very early. From there, you had 4 runs, 2 of which were earned, given up by Peyton Gray in 2 2/3 innings as this became a bullpen game for the Rangers. Jalen Beeks 4 outside the bullpen squirrels. You had a run given up in an inning by Mr. Gavin Collier. You were able to get a scoreless 7th and 8th inning, though, out of Jacob Junis along Cole Winn, and for Jose Quintana, gives up that home run, 3 runs total in 5 2/3 innings. Jay Hill from there, 4 outside the bullpen squirrels. Victor Vodnik, 3 runs allowed. He does not get a single out of the bullpen, and for Brandon Bernardino, Juan Mejia, they're both able to give you a scoreless inning in the 8th and 9th inning, so they find a way to be able to get that one to the window, as does the Minnesota Twins. 6-3, they're able to take down the Walker Texas Rangers as Tatsuya Amai continues to struggle. It's actually lowered his ERA, but 3 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings, and he was taken deep twice by Josh Bell, his 4th and 5th home runs of the campaign. From there, AJ Bluebot, 2 shutout innings, but Jaden Murray, he gives up 3 runs in 1 1/3 innings as Kendry Rojas, a pretty solid start here, 4 scoreless innings out of him. Simeon Woods Richardson, who I thought was going to be the bulk guy, well, he gave you a shutout inning, so you'll take that. Joseph Topa does give up 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning of work, but Andrew Morris was able to come in there for a scoreless inning. You also got a scoreless inning combined out of Yandres Gomez along Taylor Rogers and Eric Orze, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Astros down 19-30 thus far this season, man. It's not been great for them, but it has been a pretty great run for overs thus far this season. Though we have been seeing a few more unders here over the last few weeks and the last 7 days, the overs are having themselves a nice little bit of a run once again. As over the last 7 days, 50 overs, so 46 unders. We have had, I believe, along the way 4 pushes as well. So 52.1% to the over. Favorites on the money line hitting at 56.1%, 55 and 43 on the money line over the last 7 days. Overall for the season, favorites hitting at more like 55.8%, 388 and 307 on the money line, and of those favorites, 82 failed to cover the run line. And overall for the season, the over rate is 51%, 353 overs, 339 unders, and if math serves me correct, we have had 20 pushes along the way as well. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat it up with one of our good friends as we look at this great game with Tanner Kern of DraftKins along the Ride the Line podcast right here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It's always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Tanner Kern aboard. He does such great work over at DraftKings, looking at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. I know that he's very hard at work on so many different fronts. Obviously, the NBA and NHL playoffs are going on. He's doing a great job on that front. He does a great job taking a look at the fight scene, and he's a part of his own podcast, the Ride the Line podcast, where he and our good friend Graham Mitchell do an amazing job looking at all things in the world of sports. And you're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at Tanner Kern, his first and last name, then an underscore after that. And Tanner, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Thank you for joining me, Tanner. And Tanner will lead off here because you're out there in the great state of Massachusetts. You are a bit of a Red Sox fan, and do want to get your thoughts as to what you just made out of the first month and a half or so of the season, because it just feels like it's been a bit shaky for them. And I can't say that I necessarily thought that the Red Sox were going to run away with the AL East or anything like that, but certainly they have fallen short of my expectations thus far.
Yeah, they were minus 200 to make the playoffs at the beginning of the season, so it's definitely been a disappointment. I keep saying this, that you're lucky the American League is not great, because right now you're only 3 games out at the final wild card spot, but you got the Chicago White Sox heating up, so you're 5 games out of that second spot, and then you're probably not going to catch the Yankees, who are 5.5 games up on the first wild card spot, and you're 8.5 2.5 games behind them. So it's just been the perfect storm for the Boston Red Sox. It's really frustrating, though, because the pitching has been good. It's a top 5 pitching staff in the American League. Night to night, they've been pretty dominant. It's just the offense. Jaron Duran can't hit. Caleb Durbin can't hit. Trevor Story can't hit. These are guys that just having down seasons, and it's unacceptable what they've been doing at the plate. Combine that with the young guys just not getting the job done, and not hitting with runners in scoring position and having no power on your team. It's a bad mix, right? But if you got a league average offense, they'd be the best team in baseball. I saw that the other day. If they scored 4.5 runs a game and were just league average, I think they'd be 32-13 right now. It's frustrating. I don't know if the season's over, because last year on June 5th, they were 5 games out of the wild card spot, or 5 games under 500. They were on the outside looking in of a wild card spot, found a way to win close to 90 games. So you can't say it's over yet, but the pressure's on, I think, in this stretch where you go to Kansas City and then Minnesota, because those are winnable games before you get the Braves and the Phillies once again.
Yep, they certainly are winnable games, and you allude to it. They are going to be facing off against the Royals on Tuesday. Right now, the betting board does read to be determined, but we do know that it's going to be Ranger Suarez on the bump for Boston. Would be surprised if it's not old Chris with a K. Bubich going for the Royals. And what do you make out of this spot here for the Red Sox? Because with the Royals, they've been much better with their offense when they've been at home rather than away from home. But Ranger Suarez, I think we both agree, 2 or 3 starts for him. The first 2 or 3 with the Red Sox were a little bit shaky, but feels like he's really rounded into form. It's been one of the bright spots for the Red Sox here lately.
Yeah, I don't get concerned with Ranger Suarez going up against teams like the Royals. Not saying they're not capable, but their offense really is not that much better than the Red Sox outside of a few home runs. I mean, offensively, Boston's hitting 235. The Royals are hitting 240. Kansas City's only got an 8-point higher on their OBP, right? Both teams pretty low there. Slug-wise, they're 30 points higher, but Boston Red Sox pitching staff is better than the Kansas City Royals. So I'd lean towards Boston in this game. I love Ranger Suarez on the bump. He's been the most consistent piece of the Red Sox rotation this season, and he's kept them afloat. He's almost taken over that ace role with Garrett Crochet being injured and then also being sloppy when he has been on the mound. So I like Boston in the spot. We'll see what happens in game 1 here, but I think they take game 2. And again, this is a winnable series for them. They should be able to get it done.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I do think that this is a solid spot here for the Red Sox, and we'll see who the Royals are going to be pitching, because Chris with the K. Bubich, he's been pretty solid. If it's not him, it's been pretty shaky for a lot of these other Royals, even Michael Wacha. And I think he's doing for a little bit of regression as Tanner Kern, who does such great work over at DraftKins, is joining me on the baseball betting show, and I'm so glad that you alluded to it. The fact that the American League is just not impressive right now, to say the least. Going into the day on Monday, we only had 4 teams above 500 in the entire league, and one of those was the Chicago White Sox. And just what do you make out of this league in general? Because the White Sox are right now one of your better teams in the American League. If the season ended today, the Athletics would be your team representing the AL West. And I do think that there's some positivity doing for a few of these teams, but it's just hard to tell which of these teams are going to be able to rise up, because I look at a team like the Rangers, and you mentioned it with the Red Sox, if they got league average hitting, how much better they'd be. It feels like the Rangers are sort of cut from the same cloth as the Red Sox right now.
Well, last time I checked, which has not been in a few days, I think it was when the White Sox were 2 games under. The odds to make the playoffs, and the White Sox still held a playoff spot at that point, they were like 6-1 at that time. And I imagine it's a little better now, but the Boston Red Sox were 3-1. So the Red Sox had a better odds than the White Sox to make the playoffs at that time. I don't know if that's true or not now. But yeah, it's a league of surprises. Like, you really don't know what you're going to get. Chicago, don't get me wrong, very solid performance this season. It's been really fun to watch what they were able to do last year versus this year so far. But this is a team that I think had a win total in the mid-60s. And if your win total is in the mid-60s, you might even out down the stretch a little bit, right? So they will probably hit the over there, but they might not be an 80-win team and make the playoffs. The Detroit Tigers are better than 7 games under 500. The Royals are better than 7 games under 500. I think Cleveland ultimately will win the Central, as they got the lead in that division. But the other teams there, that's a wild card. In the American League West, I think the Athletics are benefiting from playing in their minor league stadium right now. Definitely helps with their offense, but they're still at minus 13 in their run differential. The Rangers are +3. The Mariners are +3. I mean, the Mariners were a few plays away from going to the World Series last year, so you got to think they're going to climb back into it. And just really bad performances out of teams like the Astros right now, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, the Royals, the Orioles. So yeah, it's anyone's league right now, honestly.
Yep, it really is. It's been wild to take a look at to say the least. And I do think that the Red Sox are going to see a little bit of positivity. I don't know if it's going to be enough for them to be able to make the postseason, but is there a team or two that you do have starred that might be below 500 right now that when it's all said and done, you truly do think that they might be able to make the postseason, and you do feel like that, shall we say, positive upswing, it's coming sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Seattle Mariners being one of those teams right now, the Toronto Blue Jays being another one. I mean, that's your ALCS from last year, so you have to think that those two teams are going to be a little better here. We're only a quarter way through the season. The final 3 quarters of the season, you have to think they're going to be able to pick it up. Toronto has a very scary lineup. Seattle's been going through a little bit with Cal Raleigh wasn't necessarily performing, and now obviously he's injured. So both those teams have talent, though. I do expect them to pick it up and be better than the White Sox ultimately. Texas Rangers, same thing from them, 22-24. They're holding a playoff spot right now, but nobody's safe from that White Sox group down. But if I had to pick 2 teams, I would say the Mariners and the Blue Jays are definitely going to be 2 of those teams that step it up.
Yep, I do think that they're going to be able to as well, and I think that it's going to be a lot of fun to see what we get out of these teams moving forward, because it's been a hodgepodge out there in the American League. And when it comes to the National League, certainly it's been the superior league thus far. And just what do you make out of this landscape with the Atlanta Braves right now holding the best record in the entire National League? Really, other than the Cincinnati Reds, all these teams have been very rock solid in the National League Central as well, and it just feels like it's a really interesting league in general, where it's going to be a bloodbath to try to be able to get into the wild card, because there's so many teams that are going to be fighting for those spots.
Definitely. And, first off, the Philadelphia Phillies making the run that they have since changing managers has been fantastic under Mattingly. I mean, they're 24-23. They're 7-3 in their past 10. If they keep this pace, they're as good as the Braves, and they can definitely catch them. I ultimately think Atlanta will win the NL East. They have a great combination of offense and pitching, but the Phillies have a similar roster. So I think those 2 teams are, leaps and bounds ahead of everybody in the National League East. The Central's been really fun. The Cardinals have been a cool story this year. I just don't have as much respect for a team like St. Louis. I ultimately think they're going to fade just a little bit. I think they might sneak into the playoffs, but it's going to be hard for them to keep this pace, especially throughout the year with teams like the Dodgers and the Padres, and then everything that the NL East has to offer with the Braves and Phillies. And then the depth of the NL Central, I mean, that's the best division in baseball in my mind, top to bottom right now. So I think it's anyone's game in the Central. If I'm picking 2 teams to come out of the East right now, it's the Braves and the Phillies. And the playoff race is definitely going to get exciting here with teams like the Phillies starting to climb back in. They're 3.5 games out right now. The Pittsburgh Pirates, the Cincinnati Reds, a lot of teams that can make some noise. So I definitely wouldn't count on the Brewers and the Cardinals being in the playoffs right now. A lot can change there.
Yep, and you mentioned the Milwaukee Brewers, and I'm so glad that you do, because a great Midwest rivalry is going to be going down on Tuesday, with it being Brewers versus Cubs. Right now, the Miz versus Ben Brown is a pitching matchup for this one, and with Jacob Mizorowski and the Brewers -115 to -120 favorites, how do you look at this game? Because I think that it is so interesting to see what we've gotten out of the Brewers, because they have had some reinforcements come for their lineup, because they've been doing so with a lot of singles and doubles, a lot of small ball, and for the Chicago Cubs, feels like it's been a little bit wobbly with regards to their offense over the last few weeks as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be looking at the under. I imagine we're going to get 7.5 in this game.
We've got 8.5.
8.5, really? Wow, the wind must be blowing out at Wrigley tomorrow night, because you look at these 2 pitchers, they've been fantastic. Mizorowski, 3-2, 2.1 ERA, 0.9 whip. Ben Brown obviously has the 1.6 ERA, the 0.86 whip. The biggest thing about these guys, Brown's not on Mizorowski's level when it comes to strikeouts, but you're getting over a strikeout an inning with Ben Brown, and then Mizorowski is 80 strikeouts in 51 innings. Neither guy gives up a lot of home runs, so I have to think that we're going to lean under on this game, but I watched Mizorowski pitch against the Boston Red Sox earlier in the season, and I think the thing about the Brewers is they do play the small ball, which is good, but when you go up against a team like the Cubs, who have hit 27 more home runs than you this season, if you can just get to the bullpen or get a little bit off Mizorowski, you put yourself in a really good spot and a chance to be successful here. So I'd lean towards the Cubs for the price at home here, just because the Brewers offense, when you go up against a power offense, it's really hard to compete.
Yep, it's been so interesting to be taking a look at this Milwaukee Brewers team, because it just feels like they find a different way to win every single time. And to your point about the wind, looks like it's blowing out towards the beginning part of the day, but by the time first pitch, it's going to be blowing in. So I think that could be very big to be looking at. Might be a little bit of a game time call if you do want to be going under or not with that as well, because we are seeing some changes with regards to those conditions out there. And then with regards to another game out there in the National League, you mentioned it, the Phillies, they have been catching fire, and Jesus Luzardo is on the bump for them against the Reds, with it being Chase Burns there. That totals between 8.5 to 9. Phillies are right around minus 135. Want to get your thoughts here, because I just look at Jesus Luzardo and that over 5 ERA, and it's puzzling, because if you look at all the advanced numbers, fielding independent, it shows that his ERA should probably be like multiple points lower right now. And Chase Burns, I feel like, has been one of the more underrated pitchers in the National League thus far this season. So want to get your thoughts here on what I think is a sneaky good pitching matchup.
Yeah, very good pitching matchup. I tend to like riding the hot hand, though. Even though Chase Burns has been the better pitcher, I mean, Jesus Luzardo, like you said, the fielding independent ERA would be lower there, and the Phillies are just finding ways to win baseball games right now. Again, winning 7 of their past 10 coming into this series, coming off a sweep of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Realistically, they should have swept the Boston Red Sox as well. So, they're playing really good baseball right now. Philadelphia's offense, can't necessarily judge it off the season stats with the Reds. They've really started to hit the ball. They put the ball in play at a higher level. Schwarber's just been fantastic. And Chase Burns, while, he has been really good so far, the offenses that he faced have not been the best in his past 5 starts, going up against the Nationals, the Astros, the Pirates, Rockies, and Rays. So this will definitely be the best offense he's seen in a while. And I'm trusting the hot hand at home with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And I think that with Luzardo, he's just doing for so much positive regression. I think the batting average on balls in play against him is like a 365 or something. So that certainly should be ironing out as the season goes along. And is there anything else that's really catching your eye on this Baseball Tuesday, as we've got all 30 teams in action? Think that we've got a really good card. Anything else that's really standing out to you?
Well, I love watching the Yankees and the Blue Jays go at it. I like the divisional games, obviously, and looking at this one, you're getting a hefty price on the New York Yankees here. I would be leaning on the over at Yankee Stadium. Will Warren, has been good, obviously, and the same thing for Dylan Cease, but I've seen Dylan Cease get hit a little bit on the road at times, and strikeout-wise, he's very powerful, but he's going to make mistakes at times a little bit, and I saw the Boston Red Sox, actually, I believe it was the Red Sox, get to him pretty well. He went 5 innings, he gave up 4 runs against them, then he had another bad start against the Minnesota Twins. He started to pull back and get better, obviously, against the Angels and the Rays, but I do think the Yankees have the offense to disturb him. And then Will Warren's really good, but he's given up almost a hit an inning. The strikeout numbers are solid, but he is going to make mistakes at times with the long ball, and obviously the short porch is favorable. So I'd be leaning over on that game, and then also just excited to watch the Boston Red Sox. Hopefully they can start winning some games here, take this series as a Red Sox fan myself.
Yep, and you mentioned it with Will Warren. He has given up 6 home runs thus far this season. All 6 of them have come at Yankee Stadium thus far this season. He's actually got some big-time home and road splits where he's been pitching much better away from home rather than at home. So that's something that did put me on the Blue Jays in this spot myself. And Tanner, I know you're doing such great work looking at this great game of baseball over there at DraftKings, but doing a little bit of everything. Looking at the fight game. You're getting set for what is going to be a great football season, the playoffs in the NBA, NHL, and so much more. So love to get people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
So you can follow me at Tanner Kern cross-platform. My podcast, Ride the Line, every Tuesday and Friday, where you get your podcasts with Grant Mitchell, and then also on the DraftKings Sportsbook social pages every day. So make sure you check it out.
Absolutely. And our friend Tanner is doing such an amazing job looking at this great game of baseball every single time he joins me on such great insights. Did so once again today. So big thanks to Tanner for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It's always great to get Tanner Kern aboard. He does such great work over at DraftKings, looking at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. I know that he's also doing an incredible job holding things down as being one half of the Ride the Line podcast as well. Every single time he joins me, lends such great insights. Did so once again today, so a big thanks to Tanner for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. We're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order, and any interleague games. Those are going going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice and clean and easy. Let's get things started. This is 901, 902 on the card. The Atlanta Braves are going to be on the road against the Miami Marlins as Braxton Garrett goes for the Fish. Martin Perez is on the bump for Atlanta. Atlanta's a favorite here of anywhere between minus 126 to a minus 130, plus 104 to plus 110. That number on Miami, it is a total over is minus 105 to minus 115. Same goes for the under. And I do like the Braves here. I set them at a minus 146 on the money line. Now for Martin Perez, last 2 weeks he's been coming out of the bullpen, but he's overall been very effective. Whether that be coming out of the bullpen, start out the year as a starter, they'll probably piggyback him with something like a DDA Fuentes or something like that. But 2.25 ERA, recognize he's not a strikeout artist, only about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 1 home run, 2.8 walks per 9 innings. He's been presentable, and for Braxton Garrett, a 33.75 ERA. Obviously, that's going to be going downward. If you have a ERA of a 33, that's a real issue. That sounds like a Greg Peterson number there, but Garrett did not pitch at all at the big league level in 2025. Last we saw him in 2024, wasn't really giving up a lot of walks, but he did have a 5.35 ERA, has never been like a master of swing and miss, and it's a Marlins team that don't back him up with too much with regards to their offensive power. They do a nice job in terms of moving the line on offense. Xavier Edwards, Otto Lopez, both of these guys hitting well above a 300. Javier San just hitting above a 250, but you do have a lot of guys that went downward with regards to the lineup. You've had Owen Casey barely hit above the Mendoza line of 200. Roberto Hernandez, Joe Mack, guys like this hitting a 225 or lower. That's a little bit of an issue. And Liam Mix, right now the lone guy with over 4 home runs, 9 bombs, at a 350 on base. And now for the Atlanta Braves, entered into the week number 2 in the big leagues in terms of run creation. Now they're getting back Ronald Acuna Jr. That is massive for them. You've got Michael Harris, who continues above a 290 with 7 plus home runs. Matt Olson, he's giving you 13 plus bombs, 350 on base. Drake Baldwin, 10 plus home runs, hitting at 300. Ozzy, Albies, hitting at 275. You just go down the list. Tom Smith, let's move the line in for the Atlanta Braves. With having Perez not going deep into this game, they do supply him with a bullpen that is right atop the National League in terms of bullpen ERA. Raciel Iglesias, Robert Suarez, Dylan Lee, all a sub-2 ERA. Tyler Kinley, since coming over from the Rockies at the trade deadline last year, has been very effective. Now you've got Ronaldo Lopez in the bullpen. You're able to piggyback those 2 guys as well. And for Miami, this has been a team that's been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA as well. Pete Fairbanks coming off the injury list should be able to help them out. Andrew Nardi has not been good this year with the 5 ERA. He was much better last year. Do think that there's some positivity there. John King, Tyler Phillips, these guys are able to give you a sub 350 ERA. So I do think that this is a spot where the Atlanta Braves are going to be able to take care of Garrett and get the job done here. I set my money line at a minus 146, so I'm in on the Braves, and I do like the over, so I might tell it at 8.9. 903, 904 on the card. It's the Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're onto the road facing off against the Philadelphia Phillies. Jesus Luzardo is on the bump for the Phils, and Chase Burns goes for the Reds. The Reds do find themselves as underdogs between plus 113 to a plus 125, minus 135 to minus 145. That number on the Phillies, you've got a total here between 8.5 to 9. On the 9, under is minus 120, and the over is even. On the 8.5, over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And I do like this total to the under. I set mine at a 7.8. Made a little bit of an adjustment northward because the wind has been blowing out a bit more out there in the northeast part of the country, but still, I have faith that both of these pitchers are going to be able to find it. When it comes to Jesus Luzardo, it's a very puzzling ordeal because if you look at the fielding independent numbers, you'd think that he'd be one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, and yet he's right now got a 5.07 ERA. To go along with that 5.07 ERA, 291 fielding dependent, 11.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, 0.9 home runs, 2.4 walks per 9 innings. He's just been so unlucky on balls in play really over the last 2 years, and it's not even funny. Teams are hitting a 369 on balls in play against them. That has to improve, so I'm banking on positivity there. And for Chase Burns, the swing and miss stuff might be a little bit down from where it was last season, but still, he's been highly effective. 187 ERA. Now, I don't think that he quite maintains that 351 fielding dependent. 1 home run, 3 walks allowed per 9 innings, but still, he's been rock solid. Now, we have seen the Reds bullpen absolutely toil pull. They were number 1 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA through the first about month or so of the season. Now they're outside the top 22, so that's been a big giant issue, but he still do have some nice pieces in the bullpen. Tony Santillan has just went straight downward. He's got an ERA now that's hovering right around about a 5, but Pierce Johnson, Graham Ashcraft, these guys have been able to give you a sub 4 ERA. Brock and Roll Burke, Sam Moll, these guys have been solid as well. Lewis May, Connor Phillips, these guys do need to pick it up a little bit, and for the Reds, this team has been in the lower half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. Feels like they just really rely upon Cousin Sal Stewart and Ellie De La Cruz to carry the mail. Entered in the series a combined 21 home runs with De La Cruz and Stewart giving you a combined 19 stolen bases. De La Cruz also 365 on base. Spencer Steer starting to give you a bit more with about a 340 on base. Nathaniel Lowe has been able to give you some pop with 6 home runs, but then just have so many dead bats out there. Whenever they've tried out some of these ancillary outfielders like Reese Hines and company, hasn't worked out. Brian Hayes is hitting like a $150 this year. Tyler Stevenson at the catcher spot has been rough. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, this team still is in the lower half of the big leagues in terms of run creation, even though Bryce Harper has been incredible. 12 home runs, 380 on base. And then obviously you've got Kyle Schwarber, who was out of the lineup yesterday. I do want to be noting that, but 20 home runs. He just continues to mash the ball. But the infielders like Bryson Stott, Alec Boehm, Trey Turner down for what? Give you less than a 300 on base. JT Realmuto, I'll throw him in there as well. It just seen a little bit more there. And for the Phillies, getting back Yohan Duran certainly helps out this bullpen. He's one of the better closers in all baseball. But Brad Keller's been posting up darn near 4 ERA. Jose Alvarado has not been the same ever since the drug suspension. Jonathan Mullen, Tanner Banks. These are guys give you north of a 4.75 ERA. But that said, I think that both starters go out there, give you a good start. So I told 7.8, like the under for the Phillies, made the minus 138, so minus 137 or better, willing to lay that Phillies money line. 905, 906 on the card. It's the Mets. They're going to be on the road against the Washington Nationals as Foster Griffin goes for the Nats, and you've got Mr. Nolan McLean on the bump for the Mets, and the Mets do find themselves between minus 155 to minus 162 favorites, plus 129 to a plus 136 is that number on the Nationals. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Mets, that's between even money to plus 105, and total on this game, it is 8.5 to 9 on the 8.5. Over is minus 120 to minus 130. Under is between even and plus 110 on the 9. The over and the under both at minus 110, and I set my money line price at a minus 147 on the Mets, but I was willing to take a minus 125 or better with regards to Washington Nationals getting a run half. Right now I'm finding that right around minus 120, minus 122. I'm just going to take a run half with the Nationals. I don't want to trust in them winning this game outright because the bullpen is still in the bottom 10 in terms of ERA, even though Brad Lord, PJ Poulin, these guys have been a little bit better, but for Foster Griffin, since coming back from overseas the last 3 seasons, he's been able to have himself a little bit of a career renaissance. Now, I don't know if he's going to quite maintain the 353 ERA, has a 445 fielding dependent with 1.4 home runs, 3.2 walks per 9 innings, but overall has been relatively effective, and Nolan McLean has been really one of the bright spots for the New York Mets as far this season. The guy has been able to shove with a 292 ERA, closer to a 267 on that fielding independent. He's getting 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's allowing about 0.7 home runs per 9 innings, so he's been great, and with these two offenses, they've been polar opposites. Right now, for the Mets are in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of run creation, while the Nationals are averaging 5.4 runs per game, but the Nationals are just 14th in terms of on-base plus slugging against right-handed pitching, and they're about 21st in terms of the actual batting average. Now, they've been able to have C.J. Abrams, James Wood be able to supply 20-plus home runs. These guys have been absolutely remarkable for the team, but you do have to have a little bit of trepidation with the guys outside of them. You got Luis Garcia starting to pick it up. He and Dallin Lyle both hitting above a 265. Same goes for Joey Weiner. But that said, you've had the backup catcher Milas hitting below the middle side of 200. And even when Keibert Ruiz has been out there, he's been rough. Haven't gotten a lot of the likes of Brady House, some of these ancillary infielders like Nasim Nunez. And on the flip side for the Mets, Juan Soto's giving me a 380 on base with 6+ home runs. And you look at the starting lineup yesterday, the only other player hitting above a 250 was A.J. Ewing. And he's had such a small sample size that's not even funny. You've got nobody on the roster with over 7 home runs, so that's been a big giant issue. And the Mets are doing a better job with their bullpen. They are in the top 10 in terms of bullpen area, even though Devin Williams has been a train wreck this far this season. The likes of Austin Warren, Oscar Brisbane, Brooks Raley have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA, so that helps them out a little bit. That's a big reason why instead of taking the money line of the Nationals, I would rather just take a run half at a minus 120, minus 125, and I think they get a lower scoring game. Semi-total at 8.1, like the under. 907, 908 on the card. It's the Brewers. They're going to be on the road against the Cubs as Ben Brown goes for the Cubbies, and the Miz Kid, Jacob Mizorowski, is on the bump for the Brewers. Brewers are minus 115 to minus 120 favorites. Minus 105 to plus 102 is Enter Brown, the Cubs with an 8.5 total. Under is minus 120 and the over is even. Now, the wind is supposed to be blowing out to begin the day at Wrigley Field, but by the time first pitch hits, it's going to be blowing inward. So I set my total at 6.8. I'm in on the under. Without question, Mizorowski has been absolutely magnificent this year. He's right now supplying a 2.12 ERA, 14.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, allowing 0 runs across his last 3 starts. I believe 18 and a third innings overall in that time span. And Ben Brown, he hasn't provided a lot of length because he has pitched all but 2 of his appearances thus far this season out of the bullpen, but 1.60 ERA, 9.1 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's allowed just 1 home run thus far this season, and while you're probably going to need to rely upon quite a bit of this Cubs bullpen, which has been banged up. Porter Hodge is out for the season. They've dealt with Caleb Theobar being on the injured list and so many others. I do think that with the wind blowing in towards back half of the game, that is going to be able to help out quite a bit, and you've had Obi Milner, Jacob Webb be able to supply a sub 3 ERA. Getting back Daniel Palencia is big as well. Now, you do have a pair of offenses that entered in this series in the top 6 in the big leagues in terms of run creation. I do think that for the Brewers, they're going to be able to find a little bit more power. Christian Yelich, pair of home runs over the last 3 days. You do like to be able to see that. They get back Andrew Vaughn. It's giving you over 4 on base. You got Jackson Trio sitting darn near 300, and then Bryce Terang continues to give you 4 on base. Bottom lineups, Al Frelick, Luis Renifo, Joey Ortiz, guys like this need a little bit more there, especially with Brandon Lockridge now on the injured list, but Brewers do a great job small balling you to death. And then for the Cubs, Seiya Suzuki continues to give you a 360 on base, and just a lot of guys in general that are between, we're going to call it about a 366 to a 340 on base. Alex Bregman, Nico Horner, Michael Busch, Suzuki, Ian Happ, and Happ has been leading the way with about 9 home runs, and Michael Conforto is sitting well above a 400 with regards to his on base as well. But again, I do think that the conditions with the wind blowing in, 2 guys that are really able to get strikeouts, it's good to be able to hold down the fort with regards to the total line. I do think that the Brewers have the better bullpen. I recognize that Abner Uribe, along Trevor McGill, both supplying over a 4 ERA, but DL turned it up. Hall, Aaron Ashby, Grant Anderson, these guys have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. So with the Brewers, set them at minus 128, like the money line, and like the under, somebody told 6.8. 909, 910 on the card. It's the Pirates. They're going to be on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals. Matthew Liberatore is on the bump for the Cards, and Mitch Keller goes for the Buccos. And the Pirates are in a relative pick'em game. They're anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 112. Meanwhile, minus 105 to a minus 108 is that number on St. Louis. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8. Over is minus 115, the under is minus 105 on the 8.5, under is minus 120, and the over is even. I did somebody tell it at 8.2, so I would rather have an 8.5 to the under rather than an 8 to the over. We have seen the Pittsburgh Pirates be much more shaky with their offense when they've been away from home rather than at home. For the Pirates, right now they're averaging about 5.4 runs per game at home, more like 4.25 runs per game away from home. And very interestingly, the St. Louis Cardinals have just absolutely mashed away from home with about 5.1 runs per game away from home, just under 4 runs per game at home. So that's a little bit of a split that you want to be taking note of. Now for Matthew Liberatore, it's been a little bit of a rough season for him, and Liberatore is not going to be a guy that ever goes out there and gets you a whole bunch of strikeouts or anything like that. He's a little bit more of a control pitcher. 4.40 ERA. Right now the field he depends on 5.29 because he has been giving up 3.4 walks, 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, but I do think that you can find it a little bit more here. And for Mitch Keller, it's been a career year for him thus far, as right now he's given this team right around about a 3.59 ERA. Fielding dependent more in the neighborhood about a 3.30 though. He has really not been giving up the deep ball at all. 0.5 home runs, 2.6 walks per 9 innings. He's another guy that does pitch quite a bit of contact, only about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. And when it comes to the St. Louis Cardinals group, they are doing a solid job in terms of being able to get on base, with Jordan Walker being your main man, 11 plus home runs. He's been able to give you nearly a 4 on base. They're dealing with Mason Windale with a little bit of an injury, so want to be doing that. And Victor Scott just has not been able to give you a lot at the bottom of the lineup, but someone like Ivan Herrera, even though he's not going to wallop the ball, he doesn't hit for an amazing average, he just finds a way on, give you over 375 on base. Alec Burleson, it's about a 275. You've been able to have Nathan Church give you some power with about 5 bombs, about 140 at-bats, hitting at 250, but that's at Pedro Baez. Some of these guys towards the bottom of the lineup need a little bit more there. Flip side, for the Pittsburgh Pirates, you've been able to get quite a bit of production out of Brandon Lau and Oneil Cruz. Both of these guys have been able to supply 10-plus home runs this far this season. Cruz, not necessarily the world's greatest in terms of getting on base, but still 325 on base is a big improvement from a year ago. Lau was more around about a 345 on base. And then the likes of Ryan O'Hearn, Brian Reynolds, Nick Gonzalez give you over a 355 on base, have been big. Connor Griffin all of a sudden has been able to give you quite a bit more as well. He's hitting above a 260. Spencer Horwitz moved the line, but your catcher spot with Henry Davis and company, that's been an issue. Nick Yorkie has been a little bit rough. And then I do like what you've been getting out of the Pirates bullpen thus far this season, even with having Dennis Santana, who last year supplied a sub-3 ERA, regressing a little bit. He's been posting up more in the ERA of about a 4.66. You've had Gregory Soto, Evan Sisk, but both be able to give you a sub-250. You've had Mason Montgomery be able to lock it down with about a 3 ERA. For the Cardinals, this has been a bottom 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA, but it does feel like they've been able to sort of just find themselves with this bullpen as well, because a few guys, I'm looking at you, Ryan Stanek, I'm looking at you, Chris Roycroft, that were just awful to begin the season. Throw in there Justin Burrow as well, those guys, a 5+ ERA. Jojo Romero down to about a 3.22 ERA. He's back to where you typically expect him to be. And Gordon Geseffo, Riley O'Brien, sub-250 ERA as well. So with the total at an 8.5, I'm going to be in on the under. And when it comes to this money line, I did set the Pirates here at a minus 106. Right now, we're seeing them more in the neighborhood about a pick 'em. If we can get a minus 105 or better, going to take a shot on the Pirates on the money line to go along with that 8.5 under. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's the Giants. They're going to be on the road against the Arizona Diamondbacks with Ryan Nelson going for the 6. Landon Roop is on the bump for the Giants. The Giants are even money on the money line. Meanwhile, minus 115 to minus 120. Then around Arizona, 8.5 is the total. Overs -115 to -120. The unders between even at -105. Made a total of an 8.2, so I'm going to be in on the under for Ryan Nelson. It was a very bad start to the season for him, and he's still got a 5.40 ERA overall, but his swing and miss stuff has actually been up a little bit this year. He's now getting a career best right around about 8.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. A 476 fielding dependent shows that some positivity should be coming from him, and he's given up 3 runs or fewer and now each out of his last 3 starts, so it feels like things are starting to bounce back for him, and Landon Group has been much better than that 3.49 ERA would indicate. 267 fielding dependent, 10.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, 0.4 home runs allowed per 9, and Arizona's really not hitting at home this far this season. 22nd in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home with about 4.2 runs per game. They've dealt with so many injuries, with Lourdes Gurriel being out for much of the season. He's right now stuck on 1 home run this far this season. Corbin Carroll seems to be finding it a little bit more. Had a nice series over the weekend, 7 home runs. He's giving you over a 350 on base. Iliarmo Vargas, 7 bombs, and he's been hitting above a 300. But Ketel Marte, less than a 285 on base. You just expect a little bit more there. Geraldo Perdoma's out with ailment. He's been hitting about a 230. They've been dealing with the Jordan Lawler injury, so they've been mixing and matching on the outfield, and Giants are right now dead last in the big leagues in terms of run creation with about 3.5 runs per game. Harrison Bader's hitting a $153. Now, he's been a little bit better here over the last week or two, but man, that's been rough. Casey Schmidt has been your main man. 8 home runs. He's hitting darn near a 300. It's been a miserable season thus far for Matt Chapman as he's got 1 home run, and the guys that they paid a lot of money to, Rafael Devers, less than a 300 on base with 5 home runs. Willie Adames, less than a 285 on base, 3 home runs. You just need more there. Jung-Ho Lee, when he's not thrusting, he's able to give you a 265 average, so he's been able to do a pretty solid job there. And then you look at this Giants bullpen, and they are in the top 10 in terms of ERA. Caleb Killian has been a really nice find for the team. He's been able to supply you with a sub-3 ERA. I like what I've been seeing out of the likes of Matt Gage, JT Brubaker. He's able to give you some length, about a 366 ERA. They're getting Eric Miller off the injury list. He had a sub-2 ERA last season, and on the other end for the Diamondbacks, this continues to be a team that's in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. AJ Puck being on the injury list is rough, and I just don't trust him. Paul Sewald. That said, Juan Murillo, Taylor Clark, Ryan Thompson, these guys are able to give you a sub-350 ERA. Kevin Ginkel hasn't been as bad as he's been in the past, about a 350 ERA, so I do think they get a little bit of a lower scoring game. And with the Diamondbacks, I'm willing to lay up to a -116 on the money line. So looking at the Diamondbacks up to a -116 and like the under, semi-total at an 8.2. 913, 914 on the card. It is the Dodgers. They're going to be on the road against the Slam Diego Padres. Griffin Canning is on the bump for the Pods, and Emmett Sheehan goes for the Dodgers. The Dodgers are between -150 to -160 favorites, and you've got anywhere between +128 to a +135 here on San Diego. 8.5 is the total. The under and the over anywhere between -105 to a -115. Do like the over. I saw my total and at 8.6. Now, Emmett Sheehan has been the better pitcher thus far this season, but you look at Sheehan, and just all throughout his career, he has had very demonstrative home and road splits. 4.54 ERA thus far this season. He's been giving up a little bit of the deep ball, 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. To his credit, 10.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but Sheehan, and this is just every year throughout his career, by the way, not just one specific year, he at home posts up a 270 ERA. At home, he gives up about 1 to 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. Away from home, about 1.6 home runs per 9 innings, 5.75 ERA. So a massive split there. Meanwhile, for Griffin Canning, this is just his 3rd start of the season. He started out this season on the injury list, so he's been a little bit rough, actually, 3rd start of the season, but that's a 10.64 ERA. 419 fielding dependent, though. The command is up, and there's 10.4 walks per 9 innings, but he's way up with his swing and miss stuff. He's back to where he was when he was a rookie, 11.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, so I do think that there's some positivity here. Now, he goes up against an LA Dodgers team that's averaging over 6 runs per game away from home, but as we know, Petco Park, it really does a great job in terms of suppressing offense. Dodgers were able to find it in that series against the Angels, but everyone is at this point. Andy Paz, Max Muncy combined 22 home runs entering in this series. Muncy's give you over 375 on base. Paz is hitting at 300, and you just look at the starting lineup yesterday. The lone player hitting below a 257 for the Dodgers is Mookie Betts, and that's because Betts, he was banged up to begin the season, and he really hasn't been himself really since the back half of the 2025 season. As well, Shohei Ohtani's been a little bit down with power, but you know that that's going to be turning around sooner rather than later. And then on the flip side for the Padres, Xander Bogaerts, dare I say, he's been one of your best hitters in this lineup. Gavin Sheets is up to 9 home runs, 262 average, but doesn't draw any walks. Bogaerts gives you a little bit better on base, 7 home runs this far this season, but Fernando Tatis Jr. continuing to be stuck on 0 home runs, that's an issue. Manny Machado is hitting a $182. You've had Ramon Laureano hit a 220. Nick Castellanos has had a pair of home runs over the last 10 days, but he's hitting a 205. Jackson Merrill's giving you nothing, so that's been an issue. The catcher spot has been awful for the team as well. But for the Padres, entered in this series with a 3 bullpen bullpen ERA as well when they've been at home. You've got Jeremiah Estrada after a rough start to the season back below 350 ERA. Audrey Marhone seems to be figuring out. Wandy Peralta, Mason Miller, Jason Adam, these are guys give you a sub 325 ERA. Flip side for the LA Dodgers, Tanner Scott looks to be one of the best relievers in all of baseball, just like he was 2 to 3 years ago. Now they're dealing with the injuries to likes of Edwin Diaz, Jack Dreyer hitting the injury list. That's rough, but Alex Vesey has been able to give you sub 350 ERA. Edgardo Enriquez doesn't necessarily have the best ERA, but I think that he's going to be able to find it here as well. So it is a circumstance where it's very interesting because I don't have a ton of faith here in the starting pitchers, but plus 133 or better, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Padres on the money line and do like the over. I set my total at 8.6. 9:15, 9:16 on the card. It's the Tigers. They're going to be playing us the Cleveland Guardians as you've got Parker Messick on the bump for the Gardos and Gadir Montero is on the bump for Detroit. Detroit does find themselves as a slim underdog between even money to plus 105, minus 120 to minus 125. That's your number on Cleveland. 8 is the total. Over is anywhere between minus 105 to minus 110, minus 110 to minus 115. That number on the under end. For the Guardians, I set them at a minus 114. If you're looking to lay a run off with them, you're going to find that run line price right around about a plus 140, and that's just simply not worth it. I do think that when you get the dime lines, you should be able to get the Guardians more around like a minus 110, minus 112, and if that is indeed the case, I will be in on the Guardians on the money line. I'm right now doing this when you got the not so great juice lines out there, so I will throw that in there. But for Kadir Montero, he's been much better this far this season. He's been around in form, give you a 365 ERA, 384 fielding independent, 1 home run, 2 walks allowed per 9 innings. Not a strikeout artist with only about 6.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but overall, I really like what I've seen out of him this far this season. Flip side, you've got a guy in Parker Messick who has very much been the real deal here for the Cleveland Guardians. 2.35 ERA. I mean, he's not amazing with his swing and miss stuff, but still 9.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. I think that that'll go downward as the season goes along, but 0.8 home runs, 2.3 walks per 9 innings. He has been incredible, and for the Cleveland Guardians last year, they were number 3 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. They haven't been quite the same this year because Hunter Gaddis began the season on the injury list. You had Kate Smith be a little bit up and down in the bullpen as well, but they've been able to claw their way back to respectability, and I do think that they're going to continue to ascend as the season goes along. You've had Tim Aaron be able to give you a sub-3 ERA. A big issue has been some of these long guys like Kobe Allard and company just have not been able to hold down the fort for the team. Flip side, for the Detroit Tigers, it does feel like they're going to have to go back a little bit more to that bullpen madness system that they had a few seasons ago because they just have so many guys are on the injured list. That's not even funny, but you saw Brian Herder was able to give you a sub-3 ERA. I do think that you're going to be able to get a little bit more moving forward out of a guy in Tyler Holton who struggled to a 4+ ERA, but Bert Smith has been able to hold down the fort, Kyle Finnegan as well. And for the Tigers, it just isn't the same offense that we've seen in past seasons. You've had Dylan Dingler lead the way with 8 home runs, and he's been able to do a solid job reaching base with about a 325 on base. But Spencer Torkelson entered the series hitting below the Mendoza line 200 with about 6 home runs. Riley Green, Kevin McGonigal, both of these guys give you over a 390 on base, but 6 home runs between the two of them. Need a little bit more there. Kerry Carpenter is out with a little bit of ailment, and then a lot of the ancillary guys, Wenzel Perez, Jamal Jones, Zach McKinstry, hitting below the Mendoza line 200. Need a bit more there, and for the Guardians, it's been opposite year for them because the guys that you'd expect to be amazing for the team haven't been. Jose Ramirez, still 350 and 8 on base, but 7 home runs at a 230 average. You expect a little bit more there. The 20 stolen base is obviously amazing, to say the least, but Stephen Kwan is hardly hitting at 200. You haven't gotten much out of Rhys Hoskins. I know that you're starting to get a little bit more out of Kyle Manzardo, but it's been a rough 225 average with 4 home runs for him. But I know Martinez is up to 8 bombs as far this season. Brian Rocchio has been able to give you a 365 on base. Same goes for Chase Salauter. Austin Hedges has been hitting for this team as well. So it's a really interesting circumstance. I do think that you're going to get a lower scoring game. So I total at a 7.4. So I like the under for the Guardians. I'm going to lay up to a minus 113 on that money line. 917, 918 on the card. It's the Orioles. They're going to be on the road against the Tampa Bay Rays. Griffin Jacks looking to get Jacks up for the start. And Kyle Bradish goes for Baltimore. Baltimore does find themselves as an underdog between even money to, I'm seeing as good as plus 102, minus 116 to minus 122. Then around Tampa Bay. 7.5 is the total. The under is anywhere between even money to minus 115. The over is between minus 105 to a minus 120. And I do like the over. I did sell my total and an 8.3. For Griffin Jacks, he's actually been solid as a starter thus far. He's been posting up a sub 3 ERA. As a starter, was posting up at above a 5 ERA when he was coming out of the bullpen. That said, I do think that there's going to be a little bit of regression here. Overall for the season, he's been supplying a 395 ERA. The fielding independent is more around about a 505. 5.5 walks and 7 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's not great. And Kyle Bradish, he's been having his command issues as well. 4.8 walks per 9 innings, but he has given up just 1 home run per 9 innings, 10 strikeouts per 9, 4.21 ERA. It does feel like he's been able to round into form a little bit. This is a Rays offense that we saw them very much get ignited yesterday, and they absolutely pounded the tar out of Trevor Rogers, so it's a little bit of a tighter bullpen here for the Orioles, but you've got Yandy Diaz, Jonathan Randa, both give you above a 370 on base. Junior Caminero, double-figure amount of homers. He's been able to give you about a 350 on base. All of a sudden, you've got the young guy in the outfield, and Ryan Valde. Hopefully I got that correct. He had a triple yesterday. He's been able to give you about a 350 on base. Chandler Simpson is one of the base stealers in all baseball. And on the flip side for the Orioles, Taylor Ward, no power whatsoever. One home run this season after having 30-plus with the Angels last year, but above a 4 on base. Adley Rushman has been able to look a little bit more like his normal self. Pete Alonso, you have to feel like he's going to improve upon the fact that he's hitting at 222 with about 8 or 9 home runs this season. Then you got the likes of Colin Cowser, along with Kobe Mayo, Tyler O'Neill, hitting below the Mendoza line 200, but Weston Wilson has been able to about a 275 for the Orioles again. They did have to burn through quite a bit of that bullpen, but you should be good to go with the likes of Yunier Cano, Rico Garcia, been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Keegan Aiken has been miserable since coming off the injury list, but Diedrich Enns, relatively good long guy. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, and for the Rays, they had a very brutal bullpen in the first month or so of the season. They seem to have been able to find it. Ian Seymour, after he was very shaky, he's looked a little bit better. Kevin Kelly, Hunter Biggie, along with Brian Baker, Ciano Perez, these are guys, other than Biggie, who had a just blow-up series in general over the weekend, have been able to give you sub-325 ERA, but now you do have Sulzer hitting the injured list as well, so I do think that hurts this Rays team just a little bit, especially with Jax really not going beyond 4 innings right now, so I set the Orioles at a minus 103. Even money or better, I'm going to be in on the money line and like the over. Somebody tell it at 8.3, 919, 920 on the card. It's a Blue Jays on the road against the Yankees as Will Warren goes for the Yanks. Dylan Cease is on the bump for the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays, who find themselves as underdogs between plus 110 to a plus 120, minus 130 to minus 142. That number on the Yankees with a total of 8.5. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. And I very much like the under. I set my total at a 7.6. Now for Will Warren, he has given up 6 home runs in total thus far this season. All 6 of them have come at home. Like for Will Warren, he's had some pretty demonstrative home and road splits. For Warren, he's currently got a 3.73 ERA at home. That goes down to below a 2.50 when he's away from home. 0 home runs allowed in his 16 innings thus far this season. And for Dylan Cease, he has just been remarkable. 12.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.41 ERA, 185 fielding dependent, 1 home run allowed in 52 and 2/3 innings. Now, still gives up a little bit over 3.5 walks per 9 innings, but even with the wind conditions being a little bit favorable to hitters out here in Yankee Stadium, I do think that both of these pitchers are going to be able to hold down the fort. I like the under, mainly because for the Blue Jays, this has been a bottom 10 team in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Like for the Blue Jays, you've got quite a few guys that are moving the line for you right now. Miles Straw, Ernie Clement, Flagger Jr., all hitting above at 270. For Guerrero, just 3 home runs this season. Keep in mind, he only had 23 during the regular season last year. Lennon Sosa, George Springer, these guys have been useless for you. You still have John Coliseum, Alejandro Kirk on the injury list as well. And then for the Yankees, the infielders just really need to pick it up. Ryan McMahon, the entirety of the catcher spot, Jazz Chisholm, Anthony Volpe, other than Volpe, all these guys hitting below a 235. And Volpe, it's been a very small sample size, and he was rough last season as well. Paul Goldschmidt has actually been great. 5th home run this season yesterday, 4 on our base, that's great. Ben Rice, Aaron Judge, 13-plus home runs, both of these guys over a 390 on base. They're getting the job done along Cody Bellinger, but it's been an up-and-down lineup, to say the least. And for the Yankees, this has been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen area, even with David Bennar, pooping the Bennar a little bit more recently. Jim Hill, Brent Hendrick, Fernando Cruz, these guys were giving you a sub-350 ERA. Camilo Udval's not necessarily been great, but for the Blue Jays, after they were very shaky to begin the season with their bullpen as well, they have found their main 3 here. Louis Varland, Braden Fisher, Tyler Rogers, all 3 of these guys are going out there, give you a sub-335 ERA. Mason Flaherty has not been great, and Jeff Hoffman, he's had an ERA of 6, but still, it does feel like this bullpen rounding into form, and I think that Dylan Cease gives you a great start here. Like the under, so I tell it 7.6, and for the Jays, I set them at a minus 111, so I'm taking plus money on the money line. 921, 922 on the card. It's the Red Sox. They are going to be on the road against the Kansas City Royals. Right now, it is a Ranger Suarez who's going to be getting the start for the Red Sox. The betting board reads to be determined for the Kansas City Royals, but we do have a lot of openers already up, and the expectation is this is going to be a little bit of a mix and match game here for the Royals, as right now the Red Sox are about minus 125 to minus 130 favorites, plus 105 to plus 110 is that number on the Royals, and totals anywhere between 7.5 to 8 on the 8. The under is minus 115 and the over is minus 105 on the 7.5. Over is minus 120 and the under is even. I believe that most of those openers when they were expecting Chris with K. Bubich, because he landed on the injury list about Monday afternoon, but 9 or less, I'm going to be in on the over. I do think that there might be a little bit of regression here for Ranger Suarez, and keep in mind with the Kansas City Royals, massive home and road splits with their offense right now. For the Kansas City Royals, right now they are 6th in the league in terms of run scoring at home, 5.04 runs per game. game at home. That's taking last away from home, 3.04 runs per game. So they're scoring a full 2 runs per game more at home rather than away from home. They move the fences in at Kauffman Stadium. And for the Royals, you've had Salvador Perez and Vinny Pasquantino, in my opinion, just be massive disappointments. 12 home runs between the two of them, but both are below 285 in terms of the on-base. Now, Bobby Witt Jr., 7 home runs over the last about 28 or so days. He's back to give you 375 on base, 13 stolen bases. He's been solid. Carter Jensen is starting to regress a little bit, but still 325 on base. That's acceptable. And you still have guys moving the line. Isaac Collins, not a great average, but about a 345 on base. Miguel Garcia is hitting about a 265. You've gotten a little bit of something out of Nick Lofton when he's been out there, but he's out with injury as well. But like Lane Thomas, Michael Massey, and company just have not been able to hold up their end of the bargain. But also what I think is going to help out with the scoring, this Royals team is in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen area. Right now, the expectation is that Luinder Avila might be one of your main long guys for the team, and he's made 8 appearances this season. He's made a start or two, but in a 5.28 ERA, he gives you some swing and miss, but he's all over the place with regards to his command. He's been giving up over 5 walks per 9 innings. Alex Lang has been posting up about a 5 ERA. He could deliver some length, but that's not great. They dealt with Matt Strahm being on the injury list. Lucas Erceg, John Schreiber are able to give you sub 375 ERAs, and they're bringing back Eli Morgan. He and Daniel Lynch, I think, can mix and match a little bit as well, but they're really in a horse apiece situation. If they trot out their Bailey Falter, it's all over for the team. And then with Ranger Suarez, he had those first 2 or 3 starts of the season that were relatively rough. He's rounded into form, 244 ERA, 292 fielding, depending, giving up to 0.6 home runs per 9 innings. Again, I do think that being out there at Kauffman Stadium is going to hurt his cause a little bit. And for the Red Sox, I do expect this offense to be able to rebound positively. Right now, they are dead last in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home. 2.8 runs per game, a more respectable 4.4 runs per game away from home. And for the Red Sox, Vladimir Abreu has been able to while out. He's been able to hit about a 300 for the team with 6+ home runs. Wilson Contreras, he's been solid. He's been able to give you 8+ home runs. He's up to about a 360 on base. Masataka Yoshida, not a ton of power, but about a 370 on base. So you got guys that are moving the line for the team. You are going to need to get a bit more out of the likes of Nick Sogard and company, but honestly, Trevor Story hitting the injury list, not the world's worst thing for the team. And Red Sox have been a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA as well. Aroldis Chapman, one of the best closers in all baseball. You get Justin Slayton off the injury list. Greg Weiser, shaky start to the season. He's back below 5 ERA. Pat Garrett Woodlock give you about a 350, and Zach Kelly, he's presentable as well. So 9 or less, I'm going to be in on the over, and I set my money line price here to where I'm willing to lay up to a -143, with the Red Sox made them a -144. 923, 924 on the card. It's the Astros. They're going to be on the road against the Twins. Zebby Matthews is on the bump for the Twins, and Lance McCullers Jr. is on the bump for the Astros. And the Astros do find themselves as a underdog here. You're going to be catching with them anywhere between +113 to a +120. Meanwhile, between -135 to a -142 is that number on Minnesota. 8.5 is the total. Under is -110 to a -115. Over is -105 to a -110. Set my money line price at a -133. When it's all said and done, we should be able to find a -130 when we get the dime lines. Even a -132 would be one to lay that for the Minnesota Twins. You've got 2 absolutely awful bullpens in this game. Astros are dead sinking last in terms of bullpen ERA. The Twins are 28th in terms of bullpen ERA. At the very least, the Twins have Cody Funderburk, who's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but Taylor Rogers, Anthony Banda, Luis Garcia, Yandris Gomez, Justin Topa, all above a 4 ERA. Eric Orze has actually been okay for the team, and then you've had Brian King be the king for the Astros, being able to fly a sub-4 ERA, but likes of AJ Bluba, Aniel De Los Santos, throwing their Brian Abreu. Man, these guys have been awful, to say the least. And Lance McCullers Jr., you want to talk about awful. A nice hearty 6.86 ERA this season, 5+ walks, 1.6 home runs allowed per 9 innings. And Zebby Matthews, 7 shutout innings in his first start of the season. Keep in mind, last year at a 5.56 ERA was doing for a lot of positivity. 379 fielding dependent, 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. So I did think that he pitched much better than that ERA would indicate a season ago. And the Astros have been a top 10 team in terms of run creation this year, but ever since Carlos Correa went on the injured list, it has been toilet bowling for the team. Yordan Alvarez still giving you 14+ home runs at over a 400 base. Jose Altuve now hits the injured list as well. He's a little bit long in the tooth, but still that hurts. Brandon Shoemaker has been above a 300, and you've got Jeremy Pena moving the line. He and Isaac Paredes both hitting between about a 250 to a 255. Christian Walker, 9 bombs, 340 on base, but now that bottom lineup with likes of Bryce Matthews, Cam Smith out there in the outfield hitting at 200, that's an issue. Zach DeZenzo as well. And then for the Twins, Byron Buxton has been out of the lineup over the last few days. That certainly hurts hurt the seam, but still, the likes of Tristan Gray, Brooks Lee, Cody Clemens are in between a 250 to a 240, and for Clemens, he's actually now getting on base, which need Matt Wallner to be able to do a little bit more of that, but hey, you've got Trevor Larnach give you a 385 on base. Austin Martin has been able to give you over a 400 on base. You've been able to have Josh Bell start to hit a little bit better with that home run yesterday, so it's an interesting circumstance here. I think that Zebby Matthews is certainly going to give the better start, and I think they get a lot of runs here with these bad bullpens. Semi-total 9.2, like the over, and with the Twins, well, all up to minus 132 on the money line. 925, 926 on the card. It's the Angels. They're going to be playing us to the Athletics as Jacob Lopez is on the bump for the Athletics, and Reed Detmers is on the bump for the Angels. Angels are between minus 125 to minus 132 favorites, and between even money to plus 110 is that number on the Athletics, and the total is 9. The over and the under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and I like the under. I semi-total at an 8.6. Reed Detmers, in my opinion, has pitched much better than what the ERA would indicate. He's not getting a lot of help from his fielding. Shock, surprise, surprise there. 4.38 ERA, but he's been able to get it just above 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's been able to keep the ball in the yard, 0.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings. 3 walks per 9 is very passable, especially for his standards, but you do have an Angels bullpen that's right now not very good, to say the least. Drew Pomeranz hits the injured list. That's not going to hurt this team whatsoever. You've got Ryan Zephyrion, give you a 4+ ERA. Nick Sandlin has been absolutely awful in this bullpen. They threw Alek Manoah for innings about a few days ago. That's not a place where you want to be. Brent Suter seems a little bit long in the tooth. He's posting up a 4.32 ERA. Kirby Yates has been awful since coming off the injured list, and the problem that you got for the Angels is that they're a bottom 5 team in terms of run creation at home. Mike Trout has been very rock solid, obviously. He's been able to give you about a 400 on base. He's been able to supply 11 home runs, but Zach Neto has only hit like 2 home runs over the last, we're going to call it about 30 or so days, and he's now hitting about a 225 or so. Ori Soler has been able to give you 8+ home runs, but much of that came early on in the season over the last like 30 or so days. He's been toilet bowling as well, so you've got a lot of guys that after good starts of the season, it's not been great. Nolan Chunal is still doing an okay job in terms of moving line, and Joe Adell, 8+ home runs, hitting above 250. You're certainly going to accept that, but then on the flip side, you've got an Athletics team that they're averaging about 4.7, 4.8 runs per game at home. That's a top 10 mark in all baseball. They're about 22nd with regards to run creation away from home, but Brent Rooker's starting to find it after he began the season either banged up or just very much not effective in the first 2 weeks of the season, but Tyler Soderstrom, Lawrence Butler, only below the Mendoza 200. Here's what's carrying them though. Shea Langolier. Shea has banged for 12 home runs. He's hitting about a 335. Jacob Wilson, he continues at a 292. You could use him to draw a few more walks and have a little bit more power, but still, he's been able to do a pretty presentable job for this unit. You've been able to get some good production out of Nick Kurtz, 269 average, but that 432 on base, and he's been able to do a solid job in terms of giving you power as well. That's big, and for the Athletics, this is a team that's in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, but they've been pretty solid. Hogan Harris has been able to give you a sub 335 ERA. Scott Barlow is giving you some presentable innings. You've got Joe Kunal giving you a sub 3 ERA. He's been the main closer for the team thus far this season. Jack Perkins and a lot of the long guys, Mark Leiter Jr., they're giving you over a 4 ERA. Justin Turner right around about a 4 ERA, but with the Angels, they're just not putting bat to ball at home, and I do think that there's positivity doing for Jacob Lopez, who last year had an 11 strikeout per 9 inning rate. That's down to 6.7 this year. Needs to work on the fact that he's given up 2+ home runs and close to 6 walks per 9 innings, but it does look like the positivity is starting to come from as he's given up 2 earned runs or fewer in 3 out of his last 4 starts, so I'm going to be in on this under. I semi-total at an 8.6, and made my money line price a 106 on the Angels, so plus 107 or better. I'm going to take a shot here on the Athletics. 927, 928 on the card. It's the White Sox. They're going to be on the road against the Seattle Mariners as Bryce Miller goes for Seattle, and Anthony Kay says okay to another start. And for Seattle, they're between minus 150 to minus 155 favorites, between plus 128 to a plus 135. That number on Chicago. 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 8. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. On the 7.5, over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. And I set a total here of a 7.7. Personally, I would rather be taking a shot on the 8 to the under rather than the 7.5 to the over, mainly because Seattle's ballpark, it really does suppress offense, and for Seattle, it's just been a rough go of it for them on offense this far this season. They're only averaging about 4 runs per game at home. They've been a bottom 7 unit with that regard. Now, for the Chicago White Sox, they have been very much rocking and rolling with the deep ball, but they are still a little bit of an all-or-nothing team. They are in the bottom 10 in terms of overall batting average. Montaki Murakami, 15+ home runs, has been amazing, but trying to crank it out in this ballpark is going to be a little bit more difficult for these guys. You've got Colson Montgomery also give you a double-figure amount of homers along with Miguel Vargas. So these guys have been able to get it going, and Vargas has been able to give you 375 on base. The offense does appear to be a little bit more balanced with Sam Antonazzi, give you over 350 on base. Jared Kelenic has actually looked okay since they called him up, but still have a few question marks there. Luander Acuna, along with the catcher spot, Drew Romo, Edgar Quero, all these guys hitting below 200. That's a little bit rough. And for the Seattle Mariners, J.P. Crawford is giving you like a 350 on base, but he's only hitting at 216. Julio Rodriguez, his 7 home runs, is right now leading the way. Now, Randy Arozarena finds way on base, 375 on base. Love that, but Rob Refsnyder has been a disappointment. Cal Raleigh's on the injured list. He is, shall we say, mix and match guys like Connor Joe and company. They've been having a little bit of a rough go of it, and for the Mariners, even though Andres Munoz has not been himself, even though you've got a pair of guys, Gabe Spire, Matt Brash on the injured list, they've still been a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Cooper Criswell, Jose Ferrer, Edward Pizarro, these have all been guys that have been able to supply a sub 325 ERA. And for Bryce Miller, just came off the injury list. First start out was relatively solid, 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings, but keep in mind that with Bryce Miller, he's a guy that has always had very demonstrative home and road splits as well. He, much like many of these pitchers for Seattle, they always pitch so much better when they are in T-Mobile Field rather than away from home. Like Miller last year had a miserable go of it, 5.68 ERA, 5.17 fielding dependent. I feel like he pitched a little bit better last year than what the numbers would indicate, but again, you just take a look at the fact that throughout his career, this is not just 2025, but this is the entirety of his career. He's always been relatively sharp when he's been out there in Seattle. In Seattle, a career ERA of 3.34. He gives up about 1.2-ish home runs per 9 innings away from home. That goes up to about 1.45 home runs per 9 innings with a 4.73 ERA. For Anthony Kay, you should be able to benefit from the conditions as well. For Anthony Kay, he spent a few years overseas. He comes back this year, and he's been providing about a 4.61 ERA. Not a strikeout guy. He's only getting 6.5 strikeouts and needs to work on the 4.2 walks per 9 innings, 5.49 fielding dependent, but he's been much better recently. He has given up 4 earned runs over the course of his last 3 starts, and for the White Sox, you do have to have a little bit of question mark with regards to bullpen when you're relying upon Jordan Hicks alongside Anthony Dominguez to close out games. That's not necessarily a place where you want to be, though. Grant Taylor has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. You've actually had Sean Newcomb be able to give you some good innings as well. So between a 7.5 to an 8, would rather have an 8 under rather than a 7.5 to the over. And for the Mariners, set their money line at a minus 153. I don't want to go run line here just because I do think that that's a little bit of a roll of the dice with the Seattle team. But that said, I'm going to be willing to lay up to about a minus 152 on the money line. And I do like this 8 to the under. Wrap things up with 929, 930 on the card. It's the Rangers. They're going to be on the road against the Colorado Rockies. We do know that Kumar Rocker is going to be on the bump for Texas. It is old to be determined on the bump for the Colorado Rockies, and that's why this game is off the board. And the expectation here is that Chase Dollander is going to be some sort of a bulk guy in this game, and if that is indeed the case, I set the Rockies at a minus 112. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 111 on the money line, plus 113 or better. Going to be looking at the Rangers and set a total of 11.2. 11 or less, I'm in on the over, a 11.5 or higher to the under. Now, if this is Tanner Gordon going for the Colorado Rockies instead, flip that. You got the Rangers probably more right about a minus 130 to a minus 135 on the money line, and then I'd be looking at a total of an 11.5 or less to the over, a 12 or higher to the under. It's looking like Dollander is probably not going to be able to make this start, and if you do indeed get Tanner Gordon, he's actually been okay in a lot of like longer relief appearances and everything like that, but still a guy that when he has been in the starting role throughout his career, he just has not been very good. Tanner Gordon is not necessarily a power pitcher as well. For Tanner Gordon throughout his career, he's only getting about 7.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. Now, that's been up to 10.7 strikeouts per 9 this season, but it's much different when you're coming out of the bullpen. He's also given up 2.1 home runs per 9 innings, 5.57 ERA, 4.52 fielding independent. So I do have a lot of question marks there. And for Kumar Rocker, he has always been getting rocked away from home. 2+ home runs allowed per 9 innings away from home as well. And though you've got a pair of offenses that have been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation, Rockies are outside the top 8 in terms of run scoring, even with their home ballpark being Coors Field. I do think that with these starters going, especially if you do get Tanner Gordon going for the Rockies, that you're going to be able to get a little bit of a launching pad here. And for the Rangers, they've got guys that are moving the line, like Josh Young is hitting about a 300, Ezekiel Duran at 275, don't call his name, Alejandro Ozuna to be able to give you about a 400 base, Brandon Nimmo's moving the line. The big thing has been the power. Corey Seager was one of your main home run hitters with Jake Berger, both give you about 7 to 8 home runs, but neither guy was hitting for average whatsoever. Now you've got Mr. Seager deal with a little bit of injury. Andrew McCutchen is clearly washed along Jock Peterson. These guys have been awful. And then on the flip side, you've got Mickey Moniak and Hunter Goodman, who have been able to give you 10+ home runs. Goodman about a 315 on base, and you've had Mr. Moniak be able to hit about a 300. He's been a little bit in and out of the lineup, though, over the last few days. You've had Kyle Karros and some of the young guys not necessarily deliver. Ezekiel Tovar hitting at 210, and Brendan Doyle in that same neighborhood as well. You need a little bit more there, but TJ Romfield, Troy Johnson, these have been good guys in terms of moving line. For the Rockies, they've actually gotten some supreme bullpen pitching from Antonio Senzatella this far this season. season as well. They've needed it because Victor Vodnik providing well above a 5 ERA. Juan Mejia sitting right around about a 4 ERA. I'd like the pickup of Brandon Bernardino in the offseason, right around a 4.15 ERA. With your home ballpark being Coors, that's not too bad. And the Rangers enter this series number 1 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. I do think that that's going to be going a little bit northward with this being at Coors. And you've got Robert Garcia, Chris Martin on the injury list, but the Jacobs, Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz both give you a sub 3 ERA. Cole Winn was giving you a sub 2 ERA last season. That's up to about a 5. Do expect some positivity there. Tyler Alexander, Jalen Beeks, they're able to fill some innings if you don't get what you're expecting, and I don't think that you will get what you're expecting out of Krummer Rocker as well. So assuming that we do get Tanner Gordon in this spot, I think that Chase Dollander is on the injured list, so I don't think that we're going to be seeing that. But that said, with the Rangers, somewhere between a -130 to a -135 is where I'm going to be setting their money line, then 11.5 or less in on the over, a 12 or higher to the under, and that'll wrap things up for the Tuesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by our guy, Tanner Kern, who he joined me in the last segment, does great work over at DraftKings and the Ride the Line podcast. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUDET_81. Keep in mind, Larsium, they meet us on Matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated, and then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast. I have that 5-star review. I'm with you guys every single day, give you guys picks and analysis on every single game, every single day, so I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.